27 points and 14 assists. The Clippers beat Denver by 4. James Harden served up 39 points and 11 assists. The Big Ten Conference handed out a $100,000 fine to Michigan and Ohio State for the post-game brawl after Saturday's football game. The conference said the players involved would not be disciplined. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 invites you to join us in celebrating the season of giving by being part of the solution. As we enjoy great food, family, warmth, and well wishes in whatever our festive tradition may be, we share the beauty of the season by reaching out to the less fortunate. Please help us to help others with the KBLA Cover the Houseless Cozy Community Coat and Blanket Drive. All you have to do is drop off new or clean, gently used winter coats and blankets in the KBLA lobby during business hours. Now through December 20th, all of the coats and blankets will be donated to unsheltered individuals and families experiencing houselessness. Simply bring your donation to 4434 Crenshaw Boulevard in Los Angeles, near Vernon Avenue, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. weekdays. That's 4434 Crenshaw in historic Leimert Park. During the holidays and every day, let's remember, we keep us safe. We keep us warm. We are the safety net. And together, we can cover the unsheltered. Get caught up in the spirit of the season, the spirit of love. Make a difference with your friends at KBLA Talk 1580.
Billy Preston on Tavis, Smiley, and we have made it to this hour, and I've been looking forward to this hour on today's program. I have found over the years of my career that when I am full of questions, I tap into my stable, my cadre of brilliant philosophers. There are a few of them on my list, and it is often the case that I invite them on this program so that I can essentially ask my own questions out loud and you can hear and join in and participate in the dialogue that I'm having with the philosopher. But a lot of times it's really just about me. When you sit in a chair every now and then, you can curate a conversation just because you want to. And this is one of those conversations. But again, I do it routinely where I tap in to these brilliant black philosophers to just try to get my own mind right, as it were, about what I'm wrestling with. And what I'm wrestling with right now is how these next 4 years are going to play. I'm a person of faith. I don't mean to proselytize. Don't get it twisted. My ultimate faith and trust is in God. Make no mistake about that. And yet, as the Bible says, we have to occupy until he comes. I think that means we got to find a way to navigate each and every one of these days that are in front of us. And I've got all kinds of questions that I'm noodling and wrestling with, particularly as I sit in this chair every day, and to try to do my part to help you understand with these amazing guests we have what we're navigating through. So these are some of the things I'm wrestling with. What this wake-up call really means, this wake-up call of the re-election of Donald Trump. What does this wake-up call really mean? How are we going to deal with this face-to-face with racism that we are definitely going to have? There are going to be all kinds of anti-black, I should say, racist and anti-black policies coming out of this administration. So how do we navigate our way through this face-to-face with racism that we're going to have? How do we reimagine how it's going to impact us in the months and years to come? How do we prepare for the Trump era and all these, as I said, anti-black policies? What do we do to prepare? Johnny Cochran had a saying on the wall in his office, God rest his soul. I miss Johnny, but when you walked in Johnny's office there in the lobby, he had painted on the wall a beautiful quote in mural form, if you will. And you walk in, you saw the following. There are only 3 keys to success. This is written on a huge wall in Johnny's lobby. There are only 3 keys to success: preparation, preparation, preparation. So how do we prepare ourselves for the Trump era and all these anti-black policies? How do we find the strength to resist? Sonia Sanchez, the brilliant poet, always says to me, and I love her poem, resist, resist, resist. A lot easier said than done, but we got to find the strength to resist, and that raises the question as to what black resistance looks like. What does black resistance, progressive resistance, look like over the next 4 years? And I'm also thinking about what the future is for our children, for our precious babies, because if we think we're having a difficult time, one of the things about this presidential victory by Donald Trump is that he gets to set in stone in terms of policy, in terms of federal court selections, maybe even Supreme Court selections, people who are going to determine the futures of black babies yet unborn with the power that they will have to set into place laws and other policy prescriptions that we'll have to deal with for years to come. So what does the future look like for our babies? Just some of the questions that I've been wrestling with. And so I never know where these dialogues are going to go with these brilliant philosophers. I just bring them on and we just get into it. And so now let's just get into it with distinguished professor and noted philosopher Lewis Gordon of UConn. Professor Gordon, good to have you back on this program, my friend. How are you?
I'm in a similar mood, Tavis. How are you?
Man, I'm doing the best I can. As I say all the time, I'd be an ingrate if I complained. So I don't want to complain, and yet these questions in this moment is sobering in a variety of ways. Let me just do that. I'm looking at my clock. I don't want to get started and have to cut you off. So those are some of the questions I'm wrestling with. And again, because Lewis Gordon is a brilliant philosopher, I know there are questions he's wrestling with. And so we just going to wrestle this hour. We're going to tussle intellectually and see what we can come up with 60 minutes from now. Again, I'm delighted to have Lewis Gordon on this program. And when we come forward, we'll get this dialogue started for real, for real. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Interrogating and unpacking. That's what we do around here. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Make a move into a home of your own. With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you could receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994.
An official message from Medicare.
Couple more minutes, and we'll start this month's book club.
You know, I usually love a plot twist, but this year, I'm comparing my options during Medicare open enrollment.
You can't assume your current health or drug plan is the best one for you.
And you gotta make sure your drugs are covered. That's important.
So is saving money.
Review all your options at Medicare.gov. Open enrollment ends December 7th. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues?
Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
Freedom is an endless meeting. So let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
Our guest for the rest of this hour is Dr. Lewis Gordon, brilliant philosopher. So I don't even know where to start. I don't have a question. I've already told you some of the things I'm wrestling with. So Dr. Gordon, I'll just say, go. You're on.
Okay, well, one of the first things we should take very seriously is that we can't afford ever, ever, ever to put our guards down. Look, from the Civil War onward, there's been a nonstop effort to turn the clock backward. We saw this during Reconstruction. We saw the situation with Jim Crow. We saw what the struggles were with the Civil Rights Movement. And we have been witnessing the narcissistic rage unleashed since the election of Barack Obama as president.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing that we have to take very seriously. The other thing we have to take very seriously is, look, think about what our ancestors faced. The bottom line is they had no guarantees. They didn't know what the outcomes will be, but they got up each morning and they knew what their commitments were. They knew for which they were struggling. I've often said to people that I don't believe in optimism or pessimism. Because both of them depend on forecast. I believe more in commitment. I know what really matters, what life's about, and I know that if we're going to stand up tall with dignity and fight for love rather than hate, it means that we each have our role to do, and I'm just going to do mine, and I'm going to make sure every person who's building the work on love will be an ally.
So that didn't take long. I'm glad we've got the hour. I've already, again, thrown out some of the questions I'm wrestling with. We'll probe those as we move through this hour with Professor Gordon. But this is why I love talking to philosophers, because they say things that make you think. And I'm thinking right about now about your reference to Barack Obama a moment ago. And let me just frame this because I don't want people to think I'm hating on Barack Obama. I'm talking to a philosopher, and I want to get his take as a philosopher on the question that I'm raising. But you're right about the fact, I couldn't agree more, that so much of what we are witnessing was then and is now a white lash, pick your word, to the election of Barack Obama. I've told this story many times before. I'll tell it again very quickly. I was with Harry Belafonte around the inauguration of Barack Obama. And Mr. B, God rest his soul, miss him dearly. Mr. B, I looked over at him, and his eyes were watering. And I'm thinking he's emotional because in his lifetime he never thought he'd see a black president. That's the narrative frame that I'm in. That was true, but that's not why he got emotional. He was emotional in that moment because he said to me, I have lived long enough, Tavis, to know that there is going to be a white lash to what we're witnessing. We take one step forward, two steps backwards. So he knew then, even in that moment, that all hell was going to get unleashed just a little further down the road. So here you come now in 2024, all these years later, 15 years after that moment with Harry Belafonte, reminding me that so much of this is a response to the election of Barack Obama then, what we're dealing with now. So here's my question for this brilliant philosopher, Lewis Gordon. Is all progress worth the cost? When Malcolm said, by any means necessary, maybe not. Because there are these pushbacks that we get for these historic, these African-American first. So one could ask a question. And again, this is just a question of a philosopher. I ain't hating. Don't y'all start that. My question is whether or not one could argue that it may not have been worth it. It may not have been worth it 15 years ago to endure all that we're enduring and all that Trump's going to do over the next 4 years. Was it worth it? So you understand what I'm asking about progress at any cost or by any means. Is it always worth it?
Well, the crucial part is that you said the word necessary.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of things that we must do. There are a lot of things that are necessary, but as I said, we don't know the outcomes. You know, when Obama was running for his first term, and when he did get elected, I act the same position as Harry Belafonte, and I remember speaking with Harry about that as well. The thing is that there's several things at work. First of all, the thing about fascists, authoritarians, totalitarians, all of those, is they're always busy doing their work, mainly because they're ultimately motivated by something very different than the rest of us. What they're motivated by is themselves, the conception of what it is to have absolute control over reality. And the truth is, hate is short term. The other thing that we should take very seriously is that sometimes we naively think about progress. You know, a lot of people don't understand that there's not an external element that makes the future happen. When we're talking about the human world, it's internal. And this is the existential part of me speaking. In other words, you notice I opened up earlier with saying that we can't put our guards down.
That's right.
It means that to make the world better in human terms is a non-ending enterprise, right? It means that we have to understand that everything down to the way we love each other, at our intimate levels, all the way through to the complex global political levels, they're all in some way interconnected. Now, you know, what we're seeing right now is a long-term project. Look, when the Civil Rights Act of 1965 was there, a lot of whites in this country said, hell no, we don't want to share these, but have an intersection of blackness and political power. Black power, hell no. Then there were these other groups. Rich finance capital basically took the position that they want to be unregulated. And then there was another group who basically want to put us into the Middle Ages around our sexual mores and other things like that. But individually, they're wackos. But you put them together, and they're a substantially large minority. That coalition has been busy doing its work, while those who are more humanistic were not busy doing the work of coalition building. And this is not to blame them, because, you know, people do get tired. But instead, there's been a history of bickering, separation, and moralism instead of political work of understanding how we face a different set of problems today than some people who preceded us. What we have right now is we're seeing it just come down, right? First of all, the deregulation, how it affects the environment, how it has affected inequalities, et cetera. So look, you know, finance capital is getting its win, and we saw these billionaires dancing around for their fascist victory. The second one was, as we know, it started with Catholic conservatives. But again, and I don't want to exaggerate that, because there are Catholics who are conservative who don't support this position. But there are the types who would like to have absolute regulation over the bodies of every human being. That group basically are now dominating the Supreme Court and a lot of federal parts of the government. So the remaining victory was with the Southern evangelicals and a lot of other groups. And that group, remember, their issue was against integration. So, and if you look at them prior to this coalition, they were not against abortion and certain rights for women. They didn't mind as long as these rights were available to white women. But the thing is, once that coalition was formed, a new political ideology followed. And right now, this is time for them to, you know, cash their check. And their check, you are absolutely right. This, the subtext of a lot of this stuff is connected to anti-Black racism. And we have people who naively right now are trying to use arguments of class over race, but they don't realize that when they say class in the U.S., they really just mean white folks. But even though the overwhelming population of black and brown people belong in the working class.
Yeah.
I mean, there's more I have to say, but I know you probably have to go to a break.
No. I'm good right now, but I do want to follow up. I thought I heard you say this earlier, and I didn't want to interrupt because you were on a roll. But if I heard you say this earlier, I need you to unpack this for me before I go to any break. And did I hear you say that hate is short term?
Oh yeah.
Okay. You got me on that one. So when you say hate is short term, what do you mean by that?
Oh, because it gives you more immediate results. In other words, if you act on hate, the goal is destruction. It's much easier to tear down a house than to build one up.
Sure.
And this is if you look at the history of all hate regimes, every time, whether it's Nazi Germany, whether you look at various periods in which their totalitarian domination that is happening in certain parts of the world, the problem with it is because it's based on destructions, it uses up more resources. So it tires people out. In other words, one cannot name a right-wing regime that was able to last for longer than a decade or two. But if we think about look at for instance why we're in a position right now to be concerned about what these individuals are tearing down. These are things that were built up from the 1940s. You see, and similarly, look at all the effort, right? That has to be put to tear down what a lot of black people have built up. And the reason I moved directly to black people is because, you see, there's a tendency in this country often to talk about black people in terms of imitation or in terms of what white people do for black people. But that's not actually the history of this country. Most black people have had to build without access to the infrastructure and resources that white Americans have. So the thing about it is, and doing this without acts of destruction and hate. And there are short-term moments, for instance, when we have had moments of outrage, for instance, from the Rodney King incident, or when we had situation on the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King. But you notice those periods of destruction only really lasted a short moment.
Yeah.
But a lot of black folks spent a lot of time building up an infrastructure when there has been governmental and even many non-profit forms of abandonment of black communities.
Yeah.
So we have to take very seriously that we could only still be here through those long-term commitments and existential commitment of building a world that many of us will not see the fruits of, but the journey is worth making because we love one another so much, and we would like the descendants, not only ours, because so many people benefit from the actions of black people, that we're actually doing it for projects much greater than ourselves. So yeah.
No, I get it. I get it now. In that context, I get it, because I'm thinking of hate as part of the human condition. We live in a world where hate is as real as rain. So in that sense, hate is perennial. Just like love is always there, hate is always there. So I'm thinking of hate as a perennial emotion and display of people's of feelings, and yet. I hear your point now. If you described it, hate is short term in the sense that in our systems and structures, it can only take you so far. And in that sense, you're really echoing King. So I get it now.
Yeah, I could add to that too. You know, our species faced extinction on several occasions.
Right.
You know, if our dominant characteristic was hate, we would have disappeared a long time ago.
No, I get it. No, in that context, I get it.
Yeah.
I totally get it. The other thing you raised, I got 2.5 minutes here right now. We'll continue when we come forward. But the other issue you raised, and I think you're right, I'm starting to see people now in this, with the advent of this new Trump era, start to make this argument about class over race. I sense that you find that argument specious and bankrupt. Tell me more about why.
Oh, well, first of all, it's pretty obvious why. If you look at the actual socioeconomic indicators,
right,
consistently, black people have faced worse than what the white populations who are complaining right now talk about. Yet our responses were very different. I think one of the things that some people miss, and this is something I say when I lecture in many parts of the globe, but I'll give you an example, is in South Africa. You know, when I'm in South Africa, I usually say there's definitive proof that social investment, what people used to call social welfare programs or socialism, work. And they always looked at me shocked. And I said, well, what's the definitive proof? And I always said white wealth. The truth of the matter is, if you look at every example of structural white wealth, not individuals like Elon Musk and those, but structural white wealth, it has been consistently through government investment, social investments, etc. And if you look at the history of those, the exemption was they were often blocked in terms of access to black, brown, and in different periods of the history of this country, Asian populations, and definitely Native Americans. So the question is, if it were simply naked capitalism, where you don't care about race, etc., then it should have been the inequalities would have been more equally distributed.
No, I get it.
But yeah, so this was an investment in white supremacy, and that's the proof that those investments work.
Yeah.
If those investments were available to all, we'd have a better society.
I take your point. When we come forward, Dr. Lewis Gordon, see why I love having these conversations with these brilliant black philosophers. I learn something every time. When we come forward, speaking of learning, I want to ask him how then we in this moment go about preparing for the Trump era and all these anti-black policies that we know are coming. How do we find the strength to resist? Put another way, what does black resistance look like over the next 4 years? More with Lewis Gordon when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
For all the freedom-loving folk, this is Tavis Smiley.
I feel like freedom.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know the United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time? Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 things you should know from BIN News. President Biden and First Lady Jill Biden marked World AIDS Day at the White House, highlighting their administration's global efforts against the disease. They commemorated the day with survivors, families, and advocates, and unveiled the AIDS Memorial Quilt on the South Lawn for the first time. Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy will meet with House Republicans on December 5th to discuss major reform ideas. They plan to make significant cuts to the federal workforce and streamline or close several government agencies. The U.S. Postal Service is temporarily suspending mail service to Canada due to a strike by the Canadian Union of Postal Workers. This pause affects Priority International Express Mail, First Class Mail, and Package International Service until further notice. And the FAA handled a record 232,000 flights during Thanksgiving week, with over 52,000 flights on Tuesday alone. Only 1.5% of flights were delayed or canceled, also a record. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 at BINnews.com.
Want to save up to 50% on new blinds? Blindster.com offers custom-made blinds, shades, and shutters at prices far less than big box retailers. And right now, save up to 50% off through December 10th during our Cyber Week sale. Blindster.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Chargers and Rams got wins on the road Sunday. 4 interceptions by the Chargers defense sparked a 17-13 win in Atlanta. Rookie cornerback Tarheeb Steele returned one of the interceptions, 61 yards for a touchdown. The Chargers are 8-4. They're at Kansas City next Sunday night. The Rams are back at 500 after a 21-14 win at New Orleans. The Rams are a game and a half behind Seattle in the NFC West. The Lakers hung on for a 1-point win at Utah. Impressive double-double for LeBron and Anthony Davis. 33 points and 13 rebounds for AD. LeBron finished with 27 points and 14 assists. The Clippers beat Denver by 4. James Harden served up 39 points and 11 assists. The Big Ten Conference handed out a $100,000 fine to Michigan and Ohio State for the post-game brawl after Saturday's football game. The conference said the players involved would not be disciplined. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues?
Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
I occasionally have nerve discomfort in my hands, so the things I love to do
Let's play something, Grandma.
became difficult as I got older.
If you have occasional stabbing and burning in your hands and feet, try Nervive Nerve Relief. Nervive's clinically studied dose of alpha-lipoic acid reduces occasional nerve discomfort in as little as 7 days with continued daily use. Say yes to healthy nerves with Nervive Nerve Relief.
These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Are you wet shaving? You'll get razor bumps.
Nah, Pops. I'm good with Gillette Skin Guard. How long you been growing that beard Mama hates anyway?
Since 77. I shaved and got ingrown so bad.
That's why I use the Gillette Skin Guard razor, face scrub, shave gel, and moisturizer. So I don't have to worry about new razor bumps or shaving irritation.
Gillette Skin Guard, huh? Your mama's gonna love this one.
The best a man can get keeps getting better with Gillette Skin Guard. Buy now at a retailer near you.
I was so excited when I heard the sandwich was back. What's up? This is Mike.
And this is Celia.
And a little thing we love about the Chick-fil-A Honey Pepper Pimento Chicken Sandwich
is the symphony of flavors. You can always count on that crispy, tender, juicy chicken. It's so good.
My favorite part is the pimento cheese. Topped off with the honey, it all comes together perfectly. I like the original.
I like the spicy chicken fillet. But either way,
you're getting a winner.
The Chick-fil-A Honey Pepper Pimento Chicken Sandwich is back with a bite. Try it with the original or spicy filet now for a limited time. Real guests paid for their testimonials.
Sometimes he fails at fitting in, but we're okay with that. You're inside the Tavis Smiley Show.
You are indeed with distinguished professor and noted philosopher Lewis Gordon. For so many in this present American moment, the deep despair is real, the angst is real, And I'm tapping into anybody and everybody, but specifically a cadre of brilliant philosophers I've been talking to get their take on what this wake-up call means, what this moment means, and how we come face to face with it and not look away from it. Dr. Gordon said earlier, we never let down our guards, and we also, I would add to that, never look away from the suffering. We never run away from that. We have to address it, and we have to address it head on. So that said, what say you about how we then go about preparing for the Trump era and all these anti-black policies that we know are coming down the pike?
Well, the first thing we should do is we should abandon reductive thinking. And what I mean by that is there's a tendency of people to seek a single reason or cause for whatever besets us. But that's just not how the human world is. We are actually in a blizzard of variables. There are a lot of things at once hitting us. The second thing is that we should abandon what I call, it's not I call it. This is something that was interestingly enough formulated by a group of Jewish thinkers when they were facing this in the early 20th century, okay? Because we are really facing basically 1933 on steroids, okay? And basically it's called ticket thinking. And ticket thinking is when you buy the ticket, you accept the entire package. This is a crucial thing because this is how, in a form of nuanced and creative way of responding to social circumstances, was undermined by people who are thinking you must fall in step with an entire agenda that can actually undermine your long-term political goals. So, and among those, if you look, for instance, what was really almost repeated seriatim, particularly against Black and brown communities, has been political nihilistic ways of thinking. In other words, to make a lot of us believe that our actions don't matter politically. Now, that is very dangerous, of course, because if your actions don't matter politically, you step out and you leave it for those who are very much organizing themselves politically to determine your future. So it's crucial for us to be actively involved in our political work. The other things that come that connect here is, we brought up Obama earlier, but one of the things that some people miss, and this is where Harry Belafonte was on point, is that some people are this is back to the ticket thinking, are so obsessed with the symbols that they don't turn around and look at the reality. The economy was in free fall. Obama was elected basically to be the symbol of Black failure. It didn't happen. But in the process, in order to save the economy, his policies were what's called neoliberal. I won't get into all that's a jargon term. But here's the crucial thing. If you look at the problems that Harris faced with the damage that was done by Trump in 2020, they also had to devote themselves to rescuing this economy and also to intervening in the environmental damage done under the Trump administration. Now, what's striking about what they did was that their efforts were not neoliberal, they were actually liberal. They were actually, for instance, dealing with building up the infrastructure, intervening in the economies in ways. There were all kinds of things they did that were actually what people wanted. But here's the next part. The problem, though, is that they weren't prepared for the technologies of fascist discourse. And what fascist discourse is in a nutshell, the repetition of a lie done sufficiently is treated as a truth. So, for instance, the technique, and this goes all the way back to Reagan, by the way. It goes all the way back to Hitler and them, but Reagan was doing it too. Basically, if you want to destroy something, just simply declare it doesn't work, however well-functioning it is, and transform the language around it into a slur. Mm. We have seen this with affirmative action. Mm-hmm. Affirmative action is an example. Affirmative action actually raised the standards, and a lot of whites couldn't compete. So their response was to claim
it doesn't work
through a slur that it didn't work, yeah. And then they said under qualification. Well, and there's so many examples of this.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
When Trump came in, he disparaged Obama for 2% growth as anemic. He never exceeded 2% growth. Mm-hmm. On the Biden, if you look from the deficit all the way up to what had to be achieved, it was much higher. But they simply declared that the economy was bad. Mm-hmm. So the thing about using slurs, that's a classic fascist technique. Now, if we're going to now address these issues, there are several other things that we'll have to do. We have to understand that our task then, because of so many variables at hand, is that we need to understand our specific roles in how we are located in fights for not only democracy, but also why whenever Black people are actually politically active, right? And because we're addressing a Black audience here. There are many, everyone has to be politically active, but it is striking how many Black people were less active politically in what just unfolded. Mm-hmm. So it's, and this is the political nihilism part. Now, there are other things that we should bear in mind, because again, there is so much. But here's something we have to understand. This is really, really crucial. We should also not think in a cliched way about how the past and the present relate to one another. Mm. You see, right now, when I look at what's going on, and this is something some people are not talking about, any psychiatrist or psychoanalyst or psychologists looking at the individuals who are now seizing power, in other words, looking at this asteroid that's been launched at democracy and is about to land, can tell you that this is a coalition of psychopaths and sociopaths. Mm-hmm. And for the audience to understand the distinction, a psychopath and a sociopath are people who lack empathy. Okay? Mm. Now, and this is why this connects to what I said earlier about hate and love. The thing about psychopaths is that they're born that way. The thing about sociopaths is that they're made that way. In other words, they're conditioned to believe that the only rational way to live in the world is to be without empathy for others. Mm-hmm. Now, we already see this. You could see in the cabinet picks, you could see in Trump himself, Vance, all of these are psychopaths. And the thing about fascism is that what it does is to try to set up an infrastructure to make the majority of people, right, take as the rational route of action psychopathy. Right? I'm sorry, sociopathy. Mm-hmm. Sociopathy. Mm-hmm. So if you look at Nazism, fascism, all of those things, those are sociopathic behavior because they treat anyone who treats others with empathy as chumps. So we're facing a situation of profound cruelty, and we're facing a situation in which empathy won't work. But here's the thing. Because of that logic, they always look at every historical instance of those individuals achieving power. They always eat one another.
Hold that thought. Empathy, you heard Dr. Gordon say, won't work. In this situation, because you're dealing with psychopaths and sociopaths, empathy ain't going to work. But they always eat each other. We'll pick up on that when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
From Leimert Park with love, this is Tavis Smiley.
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well-trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
Are you an entrepreneur looking to take your business to new heights? KBLA Talk 1580 is your partner in success. Every day, we celebrate and elevate Black-owned businesses across our community. Our KBLA SMB Marketplace currently features The Cookie Dip, Badass Bakes, Hair Concoction, Higher Education Accreditation Consulting, LACC Radiology Technology Department, and Malik Books. Your business deserves to be heard. Let KBLA Talk 1580 amplify your voice and connect you with our powerful community of listeners. Email smb@kbla1580.com today. That's smb@kbla1580.com. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Want to save up to 50% on new blinds? Blindster.com offers custom-made blinds, shades, and shutters at prices far less than big box retailers. And right now, save up to 50% off through December 10th during our Cyber Week sale. Blindster.com.
Oh, this new dose is... nope, that's not it. The price is nowhere to be found.
Mr. Green? Hi, it's all good. We've got this.
This is not just help from a Walgreens pharmacist.
Oh, new prescriptions. Cool. Let me check to see if these are the lowest cost options covered by your Medicare plan.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
This is someone supporting you every step of the way. Chat with a pharmacist today to find help saving. This is the human kind of help. Walgreens.
As a mom, comforting my family is what I do best. Vicks Vapor Stick provides soothing, non-medicated Vicks vapors in an easy-to-apply stick. And it dries fast, so there's no mess. I use it to comfort myself and my family.
Thanks, Mom.
Vicks Vapo Stick, soothing comfort for the whole family. And when you need more comfort for yourself, try Vicks Vapo Shower Max for steamy Vicks vapors.
Use as directed. Vapo Stick for use ages 4 and up. Vapo Shower Max use for adults only.
He's a paradigm pioneer and the top-rated African-American talk show host in the nation, according to Talkers Magazine. You're tapped in with Tavis Smiley right now.
Tavis Smiley and the brilliant philosopher, Dr. Lewis Gordon. So, Dr. Gordon, we're all waiting with bated breath. We had our own discussion here in the studio, my team and I. We're talking about the point you just made. You got psychopaths, they're born that way. Sociopaths, they become that way. Neither has any empathy for anybody else. And your point was that ultimately, back to the Trump era, back to the Trump administration, back to Team Trump, ultimately they end up eating each other. We saw that in the first term. He turns on them, they turn on him. They end up eating each other. The question is, that we're wrestling with here in the studio, my team and I, why do they eat each other? We have our own answers, but let's hear it now from you, the expert, and we'll see if we're right.
Well, all psychopaths and sociopaths, it's not that they have no feelings, but they don't have the specific feeling of empathy.
Right.
So the way they relate to other human beings is completely in terms of manipulation. So whenever you see any displays of affect that may even remotely resemble love, it's false. It's ultimately an effort to get someone to do what they'd like. So at any moment they do not receive what they want, they turn on that person.
Mm.
So this is one of the reasons why they do end up eating one another. The problem is that the rest of us become collateral damage in the process. That's the problem. Yeah. The other problem is connected to the specificity of American racial history. If you look at American racial history, it's been dominated by a lot of psychopaths and sociopaths. But the thing about it is, what you call a white sociopath is a normal person.
I didn't see that coming.
and so that's how they could get away with a lot. I mean, think about it. Because we all know it. Every black person watching what's been going down always we already know the statement.
Yeah.
What if a black person did that?
Yeah. That's right.
And this is that's the litmus test.
That's right.
So the point we know we're dealing with really disturbed people, but the more complicated phenomenon is that there's been such a history of socializing people to imagine that they're better off in the hands of white psychopaths and sociopaths that they would actually even defend their power. Yeah. So the thing is, we're going to have to admit, call a spade a spade. That's what we're dealing with. But there are other things that we have to pay attention to.
So this is like narcissism on steroids.
It is. All psychopaths and sociopaths are narcissists. They have narcissistic disorder because the only person who matters to them is themselves. But not all narcissists are sociopaths and psychopaths.
Yeah.
There is a distinction.
I got you.
And for that other group, you can help them.
Okay. Hold that thought. I'm watching my clock. I'll give the last 5 minutes to you when we come forward. And I see him pushing toward the ultimate question I want to ask anyway. I've already posed it, which is, given all he said then, what does black resistance look like? We know what we're up against now. He's been very clear about what we're up against. What then does black resistance look like? As he was about to say, here's what else we need to keep in mind. I'll let him finish that thought when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Helping to stretch your moral and political imagination. This is Tavis Smiley.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
You know where you want to go in life, and City National Bank can help. City National knows the dedication it takes to build your vision for the future into a reality, and our team is here for you. We have a wide range of options to help, from personal savings accounts to interest-bearing money market savings accounts and more, all designed to help you get where you want to go. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Learn more at cnb.com. City National Bank is a subsidiary of Royal Bank of Canada, member FDIC.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Los Angeles Regional Food Bank is on a mission to fight hunger and provide nutritious food to those in need across our community. They partner with federal, state, and local programs advocating for better policies and funding for critical hunger relief programs like Cal Fresh, the Emergency Food Assistance Program, and the Child and Adult Care Food Program. The food bank works with coalitions and local representatives to make sure hunger is addressed in every district of LA County. They also run nutrition education campaigns, raise hunger awareness, and source nutritious food for distribution, all while supporting regulations that allow food pantries to operate safely. Want to help? Visit lafoodbank.org or call 323-234-3030 to volunteer or find a food bank near you. Together, we can ensure that no one goes hungry in Los Angeles County. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Freedom is an endless meeting. So let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
I got 3.5 minutes, Dr. Gordon. I'll leave it all to you to close as you will, sir.
Okay, well, the short version is that we should understand the distinction between liberty and freedom. Liberty is simply the absence of constraints. And this is what the psychos and sociopaths I'm talking about are looking for. They like to have a lack of constraint over their actions. Freedom, on the other hand, is about what it is to build a home. It's about living together in a community, and it's about having responsibility for our actions. So the latter requires having strong social institutions through which we connect. If we look at the history of Black struggles, there have always been periods of these kinds of white lash, periods of all kinds of efforts to turn the clock back. But if you look at what has been most effective, and this is because at local levels depend upon strong sociality. It depends upon creativity, connectedness, etc. Black people and brown people and anybody who has actually fought against these kinds of issues were able to do so through creating strong local institutions. And this is really crucial because we're looking at these people at the federal level because these are people who actually cannot really interact with human beings in an ordinary way. So they're not going to work at the local level. If you look at a lot of local level elections, they really reflect a completely different country, and we should build on that foundation because ultimately, as they come in, we can be the buffer zones for that, but not simply the question of an obstacle. We also need to build a creative way of imagining a kind of future for when these individuals begin to eat themselves. What do we have to offer when we're stepping into that vacuum?
One could argue that that's, in fact, and I don't mean to make you political, one could argue, though, that's exactly the problem that Democrats have had, that as they eat each other, we step into this vacuum and we have to have something to offer. You just can't be against everything. You have to have an agenda of what you are for, and some have posited after this shellacking that that's the Democrats' problem.
In a way, again, because we have a short time, I think your program is an excellent allegory of what I'm talking about. Because it matches a history of what folks from what not only King and Robeson, Du Bois, all the way back, if we look to Douglas, there have always been periods of setbacks. But what happened was a decision to build an infrastructure for something, to know what your role is and what you offer the community, and how to work with the community to make those things grow. Yeah. I mean, we'd have to have a longer point about that, but a lot of people know your history in this program and what it took for you to make the decision for us to have this conversation at all, which is something that the forces out there would not like to have happening. No. Because for them, we are slurred. We are the slur.
We are the slur. I love that. We are the slur. That's deep. We could unpack that for another 2 hours if I had the time. Every time he comes on, he does this. He closes on a note that leads me to the next conversation. So, Faraji, write that down. We are the slur. And when Dr. Gordon's back on next time, we're going to pick right up on that. We are the slur. Dr. Gordon, I appreciate you as always, sir.
Appreciate you too, my brother.
You're the best, man.
Well, look. We need one another.
We do.
I always say to folks, don't apologize for bringing your gifts and your talents to the struggle, to humanity, to the community.
That's it.
We really need you and every one of us.
That's it. Happy holidays, my friend. I'll talk to you soon. All the best to you.
Happy holidays. Take care.
Just like that, 3 hours gone, back here tomorrow to do it all over again, Lord willing. Until then, thanks for tuning in to Tavis, Smiley, and as always, keep the faith.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 things you should know from BIN News. President Biden and First Lady Jill Biden marked World AIDS Day at the White House, highlighting their